said it wrong.
Ah, I did.
Welcome to the month of Halloween.
My favorite month ever.
Same. Alright, y'all. So, you're going to notice that, hey, y'all don't have any tarot cards. And you're right.
And we have food.
And we have food. So, we wanted to do something just a little bit different with it being our absolute favorite month. The fact that it starts off with a full moon, ends with a blue full moon. The fact that 2020 has just been the worst year since ever. We just wanted to have a little bit of fun this month. So, we're going to do a few. Haven't hammered out the details on like how often or when.
We are very much fly by the seat of our pants.
If you haven't noticed.
Which is funny though, because it's probably the only area in our lives where we are fly by the seat of our pants.
Exactly.
I am very
so
much
planned.
Very planned. Everything has to have a plan.
Mm-hmm. Same. So same. But anyways. Excuse me. Listen, life after weight loss surgery is weird.
I'm just kidding, it's water.
Nice.
I do have whiskey though.
No, I'm good.
I know you can't drink whiskey anyway.
Oh yeah, I can't drink it anyway.
No, I got Japanese whiskey for my birthday.
Yum.
I'm not a big drinker anymore though, so I'm gonna bake with it. I'm gonna make cookies.
I mean, I still can't have it, but
yeah, if you think we ramble a lot during our readings, you're gonna get a glimpse of what we are like just on the normal.
All right, so here's the thing. We talked about how we want to switch things up a little bit. We didn't actually say what we're doing. I just realized that. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna have chats. Just like, hey, let's chat. We'd go live, but we don't have enough subscribers yet.
Kind of like a story time, really.
A little bit, yeah. Just about, especially with it being the month of Halloween, that we're going to talk, like, paranormal stuff. And we're going to have snacks while we do it.
In the future, we'll do things like adoption. Talking about adoption. One of my children, well, possibly two of my children, and one of my brothers, possibly two of my brothers, all have Tourette's. And we will have my daughter and potentially my youngest brother on to talk about Tourette's and how that's affected their life and things they've had to put up with, correcting a few miscommunications and misunderstandings when it comes to Tourette's. My niece is going to come on and talk about we'll put a trigger warning on for this one. It's a very traumatic experience she had.
Cancer.
We'll talk about cancer. Yeah.
Just real stuff. Like, real stuff. Like, obviously, like, we're all about, like, the metaphysical, and we're both definitely very clairvoyant, see messages, definitely hear things that make us think that we're crazy sometimes. Sometimes. All the time. But, we also want to just have, like, an open forum to discuss, like, really anything. And, of course, we're open to all sorts of, like, suggestions, things like that. But, yeah, we just want to be human and just connect. It's part of why we even came up with any of, like, doing all of this in the first place. Isn't just to, like, get YouTube clout and, like, be YouTube famous and blah, 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 blah. Just for a sense of community, just to connect and
sharing our gifts and our stories.
Yeah, exactly. And since it's the month of Halloween, we're going to kick it off with just some paranormal chat today.
Okay, but I do want to say that eating on camera,
it's so awkward.
It is really awkward, and I do not understand how, is it mukbangers? I don't even know how you say it. How they do it, because I feel so awkward.
I do too. So we're going to finish eating our snacks, and then we're going to come back.
We'll do it.
That's fine.
We'll just do it.
Okay. Hang with us.
We're going to have it eat and chill.
So we're talking like month of October, paranormal. What was your first ghost experience?
Oh, geez. You know what's funny is I was actually just... Oh, that would have been such a cool picture, too. But, like, my nose is gone.
Oh.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Almost like something's standing there.
Yeah.
Weird.
Not creepy at all.
Honestly, that would be a question for my mom because it's always been a thing for me. Like since I was little, we were actually having a talk on the porch upstairs, having a cigarette. Don't judge me. And right, and we were talking about like being naturally drawn to like the paranormal and like witchy things, and I made some comment about being drawn to it, and she corrected me. She's like, no, you have always had that connection. She's like, we just didn't realize what it was until you got older. But the very first one I can remember, I must have been about 5, maybe 6, and we lived in the Bay, and we lived in like an upstairs unit there, and I just remember I was laying in my bed, which was underneath a window that faced the water, and I felt something poke me really hard in the arm.
Rude.
Yeah, and like the room was like pitch dark. My brother was asleep. I was supposed to be sleeping, but I think I had been sleeping, but I had woken up to something, and then I felt the poke in my arm, and I just screamed bloody murder. And my parents tried to convince me it was the cat, and I was like, a cat don't feel like a finger. And it wasn't like
you, man.
No, and it wasn't a little cat either. Like he was a big fluffy beast of a cat, and like he had big paws. There's no freaking way it was the cat. And I was just, even at 5, I was like, you're lying to me. Like that's not, no. So that's like my first clear memory of having some sort of encounter.
Mine's actually kind of similar, believe it or not. I was about 4 or 5. I want to say it's closer to 4 because I wasn't in school yet. That I remember. And I was also supposed to be asleep, but I definitely wasn't. And I grew up in Alaska, so in the summertime, the sun doesn't really go down. So it's like the memory is that I was supposed to be in bed and asleep, and the rest of the house was asleep, but I was up and I could still see everything because like
the sun was
still up, right? And honestly, I thought that this was just real life for everybody. So I remember being older, like I'm digressing, I know, and like watching movies where like it got dark, but like it was summertime and kids were outside like having bonfires in the summer, but it was dark.
Like, what the fuck is that
like,
shit?
What is that like? Or like seeing like 4th of July and having like fireworks in the dark during summer, because like in the winter it's the opposite where like the sun doesn't come up kind of thing. But anyways, that's just like the weird part I remember. But I was okay, so my mom used to always give us a little glass of water to take to bed next to us, so we didn't get a drink of water. And
Smart lady.
Yeah, and I was using it to wash my blankets. So I'm dumping it on my blankets, right? And that's such a vivid memory. I'm dumping on my blankets and I'm scrubbing it, going like this, just thinking about how proud I was of myself because my mom's gonna be so happy that I
doing that
cleaned my blankets. And then all of a sudden, like I heard a noise, and it's weird because I was on a bunk bed, and I was on the bottom part of the bunk bed. My older sister's on the top part, and I hear this noise, and I'm just like, oh shit, my parents are up, right? And of course, I'm not saying oh shit, like little kid me's just like, oh my god, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I go to like get under my blanket and throw a blanket over my head, and then I heard the noise again, so I had to like go to peek, and it's not my parents. It was an old man and an old woman, and they were in wedding dress, like, and she was in, so he had a top hat and the whole like coat and tails, and like she was in this like high lace like wedding dress, I think like Victorian era, just to be. Yeah, like with the lace collar and everything. And I wasn't afraid. That's the biggest part that I remember is I wasn't afraid. It was more like a curiosity kind of thing. I mean, as an adult, I'm just like, I should have been terrified, but I wasn't. I was just curious.
No, stop and think about though. If it had been dark, do you think you would have been so like?
No, because it's a feeling.
I think when you're in the dark, things just seem scarier.
Could be. I don't know. My dad always like instilled in us that there's nothing in the dark that's not there in the light. So I've never been afraid of the dark.
That's so not true though.
They just come out more. They are there in the light.
Your dad lied, Mike. You're a liar.
Oh no, it's there during the day, and it's so funny
there
too.
There are definitely things that climbed into my bed that weren't there at night. Or weren't there during the day.
They're there. They just felt the strongest and most compelled to do it at night because you're at your most vulnerable. That's all it is.
That's my theory. I'm sticking to it.
It's fair. But my dad's also very sensitive. Never admitted, but he's very sensitive to this stuff.
Well, I could see that.
Yeah. Like, he's the one that I get premonitions and dreams from. But, and bad feelings too, believe it or not, like the foreboding. Yeah, it's hilarious, but he'll never admit it. But anyways, like, I wasn't afraid of this man and woman standing there. And then the last thing I remember is, like, she reached out her hand to me, and they kind of look at each other and smile. And then she, like, goes, like, she's trying to get me to come with her kind of thing. And that's all I remember. I woke up after that. So I'm not sure what happened. I mean, obviously, like, nothing, or it's just, like, my little 4-year-old brain isn't really understanding. But I don't remember anything after that happening. But I remember that. And I remember talking about it to my mom, and my mom's, because I mean, for whatever reason, I was just like, but Grandma and Grandpa were here, but not Grandma and Grandpa, but Grandma and Grandpa. Like, I remember trying to explain that to her, and she's just like, grandparents aren't here. They were not here. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. But as an adult, like, having the same kind of conversations with my mom, I used to freak her out because she'd walk into a room and I'd be, as a toddler, like, having full-on conversations with nobody. But to my memory,
there were people there.
I see those people.
I think that's where, like, imaginary friends come from. I don't think it's just kids' imagination. I think you can tell the difference between when it's just a kid playing, versus, like, when they have a friend.
Yeah.
Because my kids had friends.
Yes. Oh, yeah. First, let's just talk about this house. I've lived here on and off. 2007 is the first time I moved in. Did you know that? Yeah, 2000.
I'm her safety net.
It's true. It's true. She collects strays. But at least I was the only stray that paid rent.
You weren't a stray.
No, I just came home.
Yeah.
Just came home. But, okay, so circa 2007, still not new to my pagan path, but, like, new to recognizing what it was. Because it's kind of like seeing a ghost at a very young age. It's just always been something that's there. But so my room is the one it's her son's room now. But I could never go to sleep with a light off. Like, I always had to have some sort of light, which is interesting because I literally just said.
But let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Was it the whispers in the closet that made it so you had to keep the light on, or was it the shadow man in the corner?
It was the shadow man in the corner.
Yes, there's two different entities. Actually, there's three now. Mm-hmm. No, there's two, because the one was here temporarily and we vacated that one. That's the story. But there's a lot in this house.
The shadow that hugged the wall is the one that made me feel uncomfortable. But only because it was unknown, and I still don't know anything about them.
Well,
they stayed to the wall, and that's just it. Like, there's 4 walls to a room, right? It only stays on a specific wall, the one that shares
toward the corner.
Yep, exactly. Like, it always stays there. Now, the whispers in the closet, that's one of those things where it's like, we're on the precipice of sleep, and suddenly you start to hear someone whispering, and you can never really make out what they're saying. But, like, you hear the whispers. And for the longest time, I honestly thought, because what shares that side of the wall is the front room of this house, right? Sorry, that's the living room for everyone who's not from the Pacific Northwest. Hi. Anyway, so, like, with the whispers, with the wall shares with the front room, right? So, I always just thought that it was people just being loud, right? But because it's the other side of a wall, like, you can hear it, but you can't quite make out what they're saying, kind of thing. And at the time, I was working at a gas station that I opened, so, like, 5 a.m. shifts. And I'd get real upset because I'm just like, guys, I have to work early. Like, I need you to stop making noise. And Christy was just like, what you talking about? That particular instance, everybody had gone to bed. So what was I hearing? And then after a while, I started to recognize that it was just a whisper. And it's not just like someone just like talking whisper tone. It's people having a whisper conversation. And it still continues to this day. Because after I moved out the last time, and Caden moved in, he had the issue.
Yeah. But before he had the issue, when my middle daughter, who's 17 now, turned 18 in February. Oh, I have 2 adult children. I know. She would always talk about Kosk and Reese. We had no idea where she came up with these names. They were twins. And it never really occurred to me until later on, the stories that she would tell about them, and how my aunt came to visit, and this is after she'd been talking about Kosk and Reese for a while, before we had figured out the whispering in the closet, mind you, because that was her and my oldest's room. And my aunt came to visit, because my parents live here too. They live upstairs in an apartment.
Communal living is what we do.
Yeah, it's a house with an upstairs, like, mother-in-law suite. But anyway, so my aunt came to visit. It's my dad's sister. One of my favorite aunts. I love her to death.
Love her.
If you watch this, Denise. Oh, I love you.
And I need you to say, don't you know?
Right?
I love it.
She's from Wisconsin. Well, Minnesota, Wisconsin. They go back and forth. Anyway, so she comes for a visit. And when she's leaving, Rai tells her that she needs to take Kosk and Reese with her. And my aunt's like, thinking, she's playing with a toddler, Ryan's like maybe 4, I think, at the time. And she's like, all right, well, we'll just stick them in my suitcase. So Rai sticks them in her suitcase. And she tells my aunt the story about how we never let them out of the closet. And I don't know why it took me years to like put 2 and 2 together, but we never let them out of the closet, and they needed to go live with her because they would be treated better there. Because her mom and dad never let them out of the closet. And so my aunt leaves, and Rai never talks about them again. Now, they didn't actually leave with my aunt, but she never spoke about them again. I think that they were mad at her, so they like cut off communication. They're like, did you want to get rid of me?
It's also around the same time she started eating people's souls. So
truth. That's a whole nother story. But then fast forward to my son being in there, and you gotta understand, my kids grew up around all of this. Like, I've never their whole lives. It's always been like, I'm very open about spirits and ghosts.
Well, they have their own experiences, so it's not like we can be like, oh no, that didn't happen.
Well, no, I mean, and a lot of parents are like that though. But like, I validate it for them, and I validate that it's nothing that they need to be scared of. So anyway, fast forward to my son being in that room, and I go in one night. He must have been 5, 6, maybe 7. I don't know.
When did I move out? 2016.
So he would have been 5.
So, yeah, he would have been 5.
Yeah. So he's in the room, right? And he's laying there and he's watching TV. And I go in and I'm like, okay, buddy, it's time to, like, turn the TV down. And because they deal with so many things, I allow them to sleep with the TV on, which is probably not the best idea, but it helps them to not... Them. Yeah, well, it comforts them. Yeah. And this is something they always have to live with, so...
It's like the ADD,
small comforts.
Like it keeps the brain...
Yeah.
Yeah. There's studies.
It's never really an issue for him until recently with it keeping him up, but that has more to do with the potential of the Tourette's. Yeah. Anyway, so I go in to turn the TV down. Buddy, it's getting late. It's time to turn the TV down. And he very calmly says, oh, can you not turn it down too far tonight? And I said, but, everybody else is sleeping, dude. And he's like, oh, please. And I'm like, look, dude, your sister's on that wall. Your other sister's across here on this wall. Callie's sleeping. That's my granddaughter. I said, my room's on the whole other end of the house, so it wouldn't bother me any. But I'm like, these other people, they don't want to hear your TV. And he's like, okay, turn it down, but not too far. He's like, I just don't want to listen to the whispers in the closet tonight. Like, they're loud tonight. But he wasn't scared or anything. He's just like, if you turn it, well, he was just like, if you turn it down too low, then I can't hear my TV over them. So not scary, but he didn't want it to impede with the show.
Right, which, makes total sense. Yeah. Then I had to have a talk with him because, obviously, like, I just left that room. This was, like, 2 months after I moved out kind of thing. And I was just like, so Mom told me that you're hearing the voices from the closet, which I know in any other context, like an auntie having this conversation with a nephew would be like, tell me how you're crazy.
Right.
But it was more just like, hey, Mom told me that you're hearing the thing. And he's just like, yeah, they kind of keep me up sometimes. It's not a big deal. Just keep me up. He's such a
matter. They're so used to it.
Right? So I just told him, I was just like, hey, they listen, even though they're whispering, so just tell them that you need to go to sleep and that they need to leave, because that's what I always did. Because they're very receptive, which is, I always thought was so polite. And it must have helped. I haven't heard him complain about it too much.
No.
Yeah. It's interesting.
They don't get freaked out, really, by the ones that are always here.
It's the passerbyers.
Yeah. It's the ones that feel unusual. So, like, okay, to break it down for you. So, I have one that has followed me since I was a kid. It's nothing malicious, and I know when it's it because I can feel the energy of it, and it likes to do things like pick up necklaces and then drop them. So I used to have to stand in my bathroom upstairs when I lived up in the upstairs unit. My husband and my 2 older kids were the only 2 kids at the time. They had a bedroom down here. And it would pick up my necklace I kept on the shelf above the toilet, and it would just drop it. So you would hear that metal falling sound. And I'd be like, all right, that's it. So there's that one. And then there is the shadow man that stands in the corner in the bedroom, the whisperers in the closet. There is the thing at the end of the hallway. And I know that sounds weird, but when you feel it, you kind of get a visual with it. And it's this, it's nothing bad. So don't automatically go to, oh, it's a demon, you need to exorcise it, because it's not. It's whatever it is, it's timid and afraid.
Yeah.
Like it looks at you, but it doesn't like approach or anything.
Except for the one time that it threw the candle holder.
That wasn't it though.
Passerby.
It was a passerby. So for this thing, you can feel it at the very end of the hallway, and you just feel it watching you, and it's not like
it's
super scary.
Like when you see a really timid dog kind of hiding under the chair.
Yeah. I think it's confused and maybe a little bit afraid, but it's comfortable here, so it doesn't leave. But it's like this black creature being, like it's really dark, and it just kind of like crouches down and just kind of like hides against the wall like a beaten dog almost. Yeah. So there's that one. There's the old man whose ashes are buried in our backyard, and he likes to hang out and walk up the stairs, but never down.
Yep. And we don't mean walk, we mean
stomp, like heavy
stomp,
work
stomp,
boots.
And then nothing happens. Like you sit there waiting like for a knock on the door or the door to open, because like Joshua walks up the stairs the same way.
Right.
And then nothing. And I know we talked about this in a previous video, but it's like you would throw, like, we got to the point this one summer, it was like summer 2008, 7, I want to say, around that time, that like it happened almost every day for a couple of weeks.
And always in the evening.
Yeah, it was always and like not like nighttime, but like twilight, if that makes sense. So we got to the point where like we started timing it, and then like we'd hear it, and then we would throw the door open, and there isn't like, it's a pretty steep set of stairs, and like there wouldn't have been time between stomp, 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 door open, right, for someone to have just like suddenly run down the stairs or jump on the roof kind of thing. There just wasn't anybody there. Well, not to the physical eye anyway.
I have the funniest story for upstairs though. So when Trudy was little, before I had Rai, when we first moved in here, I don't remember where Joshua was. I think he was like staying somewhere else because he was working like down south or something. Or maybe he was just happening to Joshua at the time. We were young. He did stupid things. He could have been at the bar. I don't know.
He's learned his lessons.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had a girlfriend over who was, I had to work the next morning for my foster brother in town at his restaurant. And so she was staying the night so she could watch True in the morning. That's my oldest. And we're laying there. Like she's on the floor. I'm on my futon bed, and we're chatting, right? We're like, oh, we really got to go to bed because, like, I got to get up so early, right? And all of a sudden, we hear click. And at the time, it's a bedroom area up there now, but at the time, it was just a storage room. And it's, like, directly across from where we're laying. And we hear the click of the doorknob, and the door swings open.
That's a nope for me.
So she gets up, and she closes it. That was weird. And we lay back down. And click, eases open. So I'm like, lean down real quietly, and I'm like, look, I'm gonna walk over there, and I'm gonna grab a butcher knife off the counter. She had a little counter space we like kept things on. I said, and I'm like, you just sneak up and scare the shit out of him, and I'm gonna go outside and scare the shit out of him if he's trying to come out the window and over the
like thinking like somebody was in there.
We thought it was Wheezy.
Oh,
we thought it was my cousin trying to scare the shit out of us.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like something he'd do.
She's like, I don't want to go to the door. I'm like, fine. You creep over, go out onto the porch. I'm going to turn the door. I'm going to do the door. So, but our plan was we closed the door and we took a few steps back, and then she crept over to the front door and it clicked open and eased open again. And as it was doing that, she was opening the front door and she was sneaking out onto the porch. Now, where the porch is set up there's the porch, and then there's like railings, and then there's like a roof because this is an addition. So in order for him to have gotten away, he would have had to have gone out the window in that room and onto the roof, and she would have caught him.
Right. Because it's right next to the door.
Yeah. So I throw that door open, and I reach in, and I flip the light on, and I'm like, ha! And the room's pretty much empty. There's a few boxes in there, but I'm like, I'm looking around, and I'm like, what? And she's standing on the porch with the door open going, there's no one in there, is there? And I'm like, no. So we had to put a box in front of the door because it kept opening.
Is that why you had your bed in front of there for the longest time?
Yeah. Yep. Well, when we took the door off, we just finally eventually just took the door off, because when my daughter was little, we kind of turned into a play area for her. So we just had a sheet hanging over it, and my bed was right next to it. And I was laying there one night, and I look over, and I just felt that spidey sense go off, and I look over just in time to see this legit face press out. It, like, the drape was like, and I was like, oh, we're not doing this tonight. We're not doing this tonight, dude.
That moment when you're like, I don't have the patience. Stop it.
I'm like, no, we're not doing this tonight.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the man in white. I love him.
He's more of a guardian and less than a ghost.
Yeah, but he's still here, and I love him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He runs around the outside. Yeah.
But the candle holder incident. So this was, I don't know, 2014, 15, around there. So, like, definitely pre-COVID. Kids were all in school. The only ones home was Christy, myself, and Kaden, who was a baby at the time. Linny, I think, was upstairs with Papa. Mm-hmm. So it was just Christy and I and the baby downstairs, and he was taking a nap. And we're in the kitchen talking about Christopher and his girlfriend at the time, who was not a good person.
Wait. Which girl? Was it the twat?
Yes. Yes, it was.
I was trying to think of the name we used to call her, but it's not coming to mind.
Bubble?
Huh? No, Bubbles was Wayne's.
Oh,
you're thinking of.
I don't know why. I don't know why she popped in my head. Yes, yes. We were. Oh, what the frick was her name?
Her name was Sierra. But that's not what we called her.
That's not what we called her.
Horrible, horrible human being.
No, she was a terrible person. Anyway, not the point. If you ever watch this, you know you were shitty to him. Anyway,
toxic him. I was actually treating my nephew.
Well, there's also that. Toxic relationships are bad, especially when children get involved. Anyway, so we were having a very candid conversation, as sisters do, and we were in. Okay, so the way that the house is, like, you go into, like, you walk into the front room. Obviously, you can go to the right and go down the hallway towards the bedrooms, and that's where, like, the laundry area is kind of there, and there's, like, some shelving, the bathroom,
3 bedrooms.
Yeah, and then if you go towards the left, it's like you can either go out the garage or go straight to, like, the family room, which is where we are now, which is now Christy's bedroom. And then there's, like, a U shape into the kitchen kind of thing. So we're in, like, the dining room kitchen area.
The dining room kitchen comes before the
but before this room. Which we called Chernobyl at the time.
There's just boxes
everywhere. It was just storage. But we're having this conversation, and it's quiet. Like, we don't, at the time, like, we would just have our morning coffee. Like, we didn't have any TV going, no radio, nothing like that. And all of a sudden we just hear this bang, bang, and we kind of just both, like, freeze and look at each other. Just like, the fuck was that? So, we're, like, investigating, and obviously it came from down the hallway, so of course we're thinking just, like, maybe one of the kids came home from school and, like, snuck in a window, or, something weird. And it was it was this thick, like, crystal glass candle holder. It had been on the shelf above the washing machine, and keep in mind, like, laundry wasn't being done at this time, like, there was no movement. But this thing had flown off the shelf so hard that it left a dent in the opposite wall and then on the floor, kind of thing. But it didn't break it.
No, and I was pissed. I was like, not only did you dent my wall, but you could have broke my shit. So let's not do that again.
Yep.
Like, take your temper tantrum elsewhere.
Right. That one I always kind of thought, because of the content and the type of person she was, that was just more like residual energy. But
maybe
it was angry. It was definitely, like, it was mad. Like, the energy, the air in the room felt mad, like, angry.
And this is why I always talk about, I don't know if we actually talk about it in our videos, wards. I put wards up around my house because I didn't for quite a while, and I had things creep in.
For our non-magic folk, I should explain what wards are.
I lay out a mixture of herbs and dirt, graveyard dirt if it doesn't freak you out. It's got a lot of power in it, and herbs and
dirt
salt.
That we did get from an actual
and I put a layer of it sprinkled around my property line, and it stopped stuff from being able to come over that line.
Yep.
Now, see, my husband, we're gonna go a little bit witchy here for a second, since it is, Shocktober.
Right.
So my husband, he believes in my craft. He didn't at first, but he does now. He's actually decided he's going to follow this path, which makes me super excited. So I'm going to teach him, and I think it'll help him a lot with a lot of his inner issues he needs to deal with. I know it's helped me. Anyway, so we had just put up a fresh ward because I called her, and I had been attacked in a dream. And I had also been experiencing something leaning over me at night while I'm sleeping. Like, I'll be laying on my side and I could feel it behind me, like creeped over, but it would like be face to face with me. And if it had breath, I would have felt its hot breath on my face. And
like sleep paralysis kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was always able to move, but that's like the fear that came with it. But I am well seasoned, so I would just ignore it, which made it angrier. And I would just get closer to my husband and just ignore it and go back to sleep. Well, it got to the point where I was attacked in my dream, and I called her freaking out, and I was like, look, this is what happened. This is what I think it was. Still haven't figured out what the entity was, but I'm pretty sure someone sent it to me that didn't like me. And that was that night that it happened. I was listening to subliminal binaural beats. And when you listen to subliminals, your subconscious mind goes wide open, and it saw its opportunity.
Yeah.
And it tried to climb in. That is a fairly long story for another time, but I will tell it. It is very, very creepy. And there's actually 3 other stories that go along with that too. 3 other dreams I've had. I don't think I told you about the 3rd one, so after this is done, I will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I freak out and I call her. And she's like, you know what? It's been well over 6 months since we did the wards. The original wards were put up for my shitty neighbor. Oh, no. It just so happened that we figured out after that it helped control the spirit population that came through here.
Right.
Anyway, so she comes out, we cleanse, we reward, and my husband comes home later that night. And he always parks in the back and then comes in through our bedroom door, which just leads into the backyard.
Door right there.
And well, we had like a brush pile back there and some windows stacked up that we were refurbishing for another project, stacked up against some trees that were over there. So when he gets out of his truck, when he backs in, he only has like this much space. And he's always creeped out. And he knew we were redoing the wards, and he knew where the ward lines were because of all the stuff that was there. So he would like hug his truck and shimmy along. And this is what solidified the wards for him. He was about halfway down his Suburban to where he could turn and like come out when he hears this bang. So it was a slap and a bang. And he said that he just froze because he literally felt the air percussion in front of him, and he heard it slap off the barrier and then hit the windows that were stacked there. And he said that there was nothing there because like he's looking right in that area when it happens.
And for context, because it's like obviously nighttime, we're in Washington, it gets dark. There's a street light right there. So if it would have been like an animal or something like that, like
and he said that it wasn't the sound of it hitting the truck; it hit something. But anyway, so he's like, and then he gets this uber creepy feeling because it's mad now. It's really mad because we vacated it and now we've got a barrier up. So he comes into the house and he's like, babe, I need you to come outside. I'm busy. So I'm like, why? I get kind of an attitude sometimes. I really don't want to. And he's like, no, it's out there. And I'm like, it's out there. He's like, the thing that crawls into bed with you, the thing that crawls inside your head while you were sleeping. And I'm like, oh, the thing. And so we go outside, and you standing on my little patio out there, looking across the yard, you can feel it out in the alley just pacing back and forth against the line. Back and forth. Back and forth. And that went on for days. He would not, like, he would get so creeped out to go outside at night because you could feel it, and then it just kind of gave up and it went away. But that was when
I think I got, because that's right. Then we did the return to sender not long after. So I think that just went back to where it came from.
But that really solidified it for him. And it's funny too because my dad was like never a huge believer in what I do either. But now he'll be like, I think you need to redo your
Activity's
words.
picking up.
There's weird stuff happening upstairs.
You need to do the witchy stuff.
You need to do the witchy stuff.
And it's so funny, too, because if you were to see us actually do this, like, I know we're describing, like, hey, we get, like, herbs, we get some graveyard dirt, we cleanse, we do the whole perimeter. Like, it sounds very textbook, right? What it looks like is typically I'm holding a lit piece of sage with a torch to keep it going. Because it's a triple log. It's a pretty big piece of property. And Christy's going behind me with the herbs and little thing.
A bucket of our mix and a measuring cup.
Right? And the whole time, we're talking to ourselves because we're literally saying our incantations
Cleanse and protect.
protection.
Cleanse and protect.
Yeah.
Cleanse and protect.
So if the neighbors were to see us...
Oh, they've seen us.
Yeah. It'd be interesting.
They've seen us.
Yeah. Like, oh, they're doing the witch stuff
But
again.
those wards, it really helps to cut down on unwanted things coming in.
Right. Well, because the thing is like, a lot of people don't realize, especially, like, if you're an unintentional magnet. Because some people are just unintentional.
Oh, everywhere I've lived, I've stirred shit up. So, yeah,
well,
I get it.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, even unintentional, we're aware of it. There are people who aren't aware, and they're just like, man, weird stuff always happens around me. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, this is kind of weird. Things happen around me. Sometimes things just get drawn to you, kind of like a narcissist to an empath. But you could be driving in your car and, like, get that feeling, and it's just something hijacked and jumped in with you. The thing is you have the power. Like, you have all the power, and that's just when you literally just say, hey, you are not welcome, and you need to leave. Bye.
We should tell them the story. So, my poor brother. So one night, I had to get up. I was working for a house cleaning company, and I had to get up at like 5. And I have small children, so
I know the story.
And my son was like 3, and before that, I worked at a small dry cleaner drop-off station, and I got to take him to work with me. So like the adjustment period for me going from him being with me all day, every day, because he went to work with me, to me working 16 hours a day, and him only being up for a couple of hours before, we had to go to bed, was a big adjustment. So I didn't get much sleep for a few months because I would go to bed at 2 and be up by 5. Just so that, we could have a little bit of time together. Mm-hmm. And my other kids too, but they had school, so they couldn't stay up as late. Anyway, so I'm laying in bed, and I'd been asleep for about an hour, and all of a sudden I wake up, and I just feel something at the foot of my bed just staring at me. It's not doing anything, it's just staring at me. So I do what I normally do, and I just lay there and I try to ignore it. I try to ignore it, and I try to ignore it. And it just gets stronger and stronger. And finally I'm like, look, dude, I got to get up at 5, and I got to work a 16-hour day tomorrow. I'm not telling you have to leave the house, but you need to leave my room. So could you please go bug somebody else who doesn't have to work tomorrow, like maybe Manda? Because you weren't working at the time, but you were getting the kids up for school.
Well, that was 2014.
Yeah.
That was my summer back surgery. So I wasn't at work. I was on medical leave because I had literal back-to-back spinal surgeries. So this bitch, go bug someone else. And of course she names me, right? So, and I knew nothing of this. I just know that and this is like, I don't know, I can't speak to everyone who is like spiritually sensitive or anything like that. But when I take certain medication, I have no control over anything, which means my wards aren't as strong, and my filters aren't up, if that makes any sense. So normally, I don't think this would have even bothered me, but I'd been taking Percocet because, again, back surgery. So the next morning, I'm telling her, I woke up.
You gotta tell them how you woke up.
Okay.
You didn't get to that part. You got sidetracked.
I did. Okay, so I wake up in the middle of the night, right? And it's the same thing. But so the thing is in this room, because I had this, it's the kids' room now. It's not the master bedroom, but I had a ginormous king-size bed in there. It was like literally the whole thing. So I wake up and there's something on the side, like right here, right? And I'm laying on my side because I couldn't lay on my back, and it's just like I open my eyes and that's all I see is a silhouette standing right there. I didn't have contacts in, and I wasn't wearing my glasses. I have really bad vision, but it's one of those things where it's just like you blink a couple times and you're just like, oh, it's one of those things. I'm just like, I'm in a lot of pain. Go bother someone else, like Christopher.
Well, it's my older brother, and he was sleeping on the couch at the time in the front room.
Again, I had no idea that she just had the same conversation and sent it to me.
I get home from work the next morning, and Amanda's like, man, I had the craziest thing happen last night. I woke up, and there was something standing beside the bed. And I was like, oh, my bad. It was in my room first. I sent it to you. And then, like, we're talking about it. My brother comes in. He's like, man, I didn't sleep very well last night. Strangest thing happened. I was laying there dead asleep, and all of a sudden I woke up and it looked like it felt like something was just staring at me.
I was like,
he's like, and I couldn't get back to sleep. And me and Amanda looked at each other and we were like, oh, shit, sorry.
Yeah, sorry and shit.
And that's how we pass the spirit.
Think about like this poor spirit that's just, it's kind of like when you want to go do something and your dad's like, I don't know, go ask your mom. Your mom's like, I don't know, go ask your dad. And this poor spirit's just like, listen, I'm just trying to communicate here.
Oh, and my brother is not, I firmly believe that gifts like that are hereditary. My children have it. I think my parents have it. They just ignore it.
Yeah, my parents do. Same.
But they do have their own ghost stories, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Like growing up and stuff. Like my dad has some of the best ones. Like I could write a book with the amount of things that's happened to me, my dad's family, my mom. Anyway, my brother chooses to ignore his because it scares him. Yeah. It genuinely scares him. But he has reason to be afraid because he had a very traumatic incident happen. And I think that's what set it off even more now.
I don't think I ever heard this one.
Oh, it was bad. Okay, so when we were still living upstairs and we had the big TV up there, he was upstairs with us, and we were, I don't remember who all was there. I think it was me and Timmy, that's my little brother, and the kids. And he was sitting on the floor cross-legged in front of the TV playing, and we were having some drinks. And he was playing like Call of Duty or something. And so he's sitting cross-legged on the floor, and he's playing, right? And he starts doing his thing, because he's got like ADHD and like, I swear he has Tourette's because he does do mild tics though.
He totally does.
So he's like, and me and I think it was my little brother, we stepped out to have a smoke, and we got the door open and we're watching him, and we got like the lights off, so the TV's like the only thing that's on, and it's not a very big room, mind you, and he's playing away, and all of a sudden we realize that he's still playing, but the game on the screen is frozen. Yeah. And so I kind of like look, and then, oh no, it wasn't Timmy, it was Cody. It was Chell. It was Chell that was there. And we're watching, and he's gaming away. He's really gaming away, and like he just keeps getting more like serious about it, and serious about it, and serious about it, and serious. Well, no, but like hyper focused. Oh. But it's frozen. Huh. Like there's nothing moving. It's stuck on a screen. And so we're getting kind of weirded out. We're like, Christopher. And he's not responding.
Like in a trance?
Yes. Oh. And he's not responding. And then we finally get him to snap out of it. And he's like, man, I almost had that round. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, everything went kind of wonky for a second. And then I was just getting kill after kill after kill after kill after kill. He's like, and then this lady came in and she was telling me, just kill them all, just kill them all, just kill them all, just kill them all. He's like, and I was on a roll. And we're like, Christopher, the game is frozen. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, like,
I thought you were going to talk about the time that he saw the sphere.
No, that was like, that was really traumatic for everyone involved, because
would make me scared, man.
I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Every time I tell it, because we don't know what was talking to him, but she was like,
right, and keeping him, because he's such a strong-willed person, like that. Ooh.
And like, if you could have seen him, and he was like dazed when he came to too. He was like not with it. Like he could not understand for like the first 15 minutes that he wasn't playing that game. That the game had froze, but the way that he was just mashing the buttons and like staring at the TV and like rocking back and forth and like mumbling to himself.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, it was super fucking terrifying. It was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, he said there was this other time is when he was down here, and it was around the same time that he was like getting the kids up and off to school, like on the days that I couldn't do it, and it was like 5-ish a.m. because that's when you and Mom were getting up and going like real early, because you'd ride in with Mom, or maybe it's when you'd started working at the plant, but you were like getting up with Mom and going, and he heard a noise from the kitchen, and he thought that, or maybe this was you. Maybe I'm telling the story all wrong.
No, I think you're telling the one about me and Mom, and we thought it was Christopher. So we had a couch out here, And we were standing in the living room, and there's a wall that comes out, and that's kind of where the kitchen area is. And we had all the lights off except for the light over the stove in the kitchen. So it was like, a little bit darker than this where we were standing. But over here in this room was super dark. And that light, I guess it would be quite a bit darker than this, but enough for us to see each other. And we were talking, and we see this shadow come out of this room and turn and go into the kitchen. And then we hear what sounds like somebody making coffee. So like the coffee pot's banging around. You can hear the container being taken down and set on the counter. You can hear what sounds like the thing being scooped through the coffee. And so we're just like listening, thinking, why, this is really freaking early for Christopher to be getting up and making coffee. This is like totally out of the norm for him. And then we realize that we don't hear coffee brewing, and we don't smell coffee brewing, and the noise has stopped. And mind you, we're watching the entire time, and no one has come out of the kitchen.
There's only one way into the kitchen. Like I said before, it's a U shape, so it's like you walk in, you walk out. Like there's
living
no
room,
way.
dining room, kitchen. Okay, so we're watching, and we're kind of looking at each other, and we don't say anything, right? And all of a sudden I just start sidestepping and sidestepping and sidestepping and sidestepping till I can lean around the corner where the fridge is and the wall and look into the kitchen. And I'm just standing there like leaning around, just staring into the empty kitchen. And my mom goes, "There's no one in there, is there?" And I'm like, nope. Yeah, that's the story you're talking about.
Well, there was a time, and I'm going to have to ask him because it wasn't my story, and I'm just remembering like what he said, but there was a time that he got up in the middle of the night, and there was like a blue sphere in the middle of the room. Okay, so I remember there was this one time when it wasn't even our house. That's the thing. So I was about 16 years old. I was actually living with my mom in Alaska again. And my dad had come up because he was also he was in Washington at the time. My mom lived in Alaska. I lived with her, and my dad had come up for a visit because my grandparents at the time lived up there too. And it's like, summer in Alaska, everyone's up there to fish. Like that's just what everybody does. So at the time, my grandparents had sold their condo because they were retiring, but a friend of theirs needed to travel to Europe or something. I don't even know. But anyways, needed someone to caretake for their house for a few months. My grandparents postponed their retirement trip to do it. And it's this old house, and a lot of Anchorage is really built on a lot of really sacred Indian land. That got consecrated. It's kind of like this area actually. But anyway, it was this giant split level house, and so I loved staying at my grandparents. It didn't matter, the condo, this house didn't matter. I stayed with them all the time, and they always let me sleep in this spare bedroom, and I never felt safe in that bedroom, ever. It always felt like somebody was watching over you. And I think you know what I'm talking about, right? And it's not comfortable, especially when you're a kid. I mean, I'm 16, I'm still a kid, of course. But anyway, so this particular weekend, my dad was there. So obviously he's the adult. He gets to have the spare bedroom. I got put out on the couch, right? And I was actually a little bit relieved because honestly, I thought I was actually going to be able to sleep that time, right? And I kept waking up to hearing my dad yell, moan in his sleep, out of pain, and just make really weird sounds, right? Anyway, so dad's in the spare room, I'm on the couch, everyone else is sleeping upstairs because it's I don't know, all the houses in Anchorage are split level. I don't know why that is. It's a thing. So anyways, hearing my dad make these weird noises all night, right? Yelling, get out of here, and just and the thing is, my dad used to yell in his sleep. I can't tell you how many times we'd hear, "Kids, get in here!" And so nap in the middle of the day, we go running because my dad's one of those people. It's he calls, you come. You don't ask why. You don't say yeah. You get up off your ass and you go. And we go in there and he'd be snoring. So hearing my dad yell in his sleep was just not really a thing. Anyway, so again, I'm on the couch and I'm hearing noises, right? So at the time, my dad was going through spinal surgery. In my family, getting spinal surgery is a rite of passage. Genetically, we have extra vertebrae, and it causes pressure. But he was like pending having another one, so I thought maybe he might have been in pain, because obviously he wasn't sleeping very well. And this is the one and only time he's ever talked about this, and I think it's only because I caught him like the day after kind of thing. But he said that he kept hearing voices. Like, he'd wake up and he'd hear like conversations. Couldn't make out what they were saying, but he'd hear conversations. And then at one point, like, he finally was able to fall back asleep, and then he woke up because there were people standing at the foot of his bed. And obviously it freaked him out, because typically people see that before they die. He's pending having surgery. He freaked out, right? But he said it was like a standstill. Like, they're staring at him, he's staring back, and then they start rushing him. Like, rushing
scary.
at him. Now, I don't know, like, if any of you guys have ever, like, had ruptured discs or anything like that, but, like, moving your limbs, especially your legs, is super painful. But his only defense was to kick at them. And so that's when he started yelling, and that's why he was yelling in pain, because he was in pain. So he was, like, yelling and kicking at them, and he wasn't in a lot of pain, because he was, like, kicking at these, like, whatever they were, trying to get them to go away, and eventually, like, he fell back asleep. And then he said he woke up a little bit later, and he felt this weird pain in his spine. And so he goes to, like, try and get up, because, like, sometimes, like, when you get that pressure that builds up, like, you just have to get up and walk, right? Only he couldn't get up because he was levitating above the bed. And it, like, freaked him. I mean, there weren't people staring at him, at least, but, like, he was levitating above the bed.
Yeah, but which is worse, right?
Yeah, right. So, of course, he, like, freaks out, and whatever it is must have relinquished its hold, because the next thing he knows, he's being dropped on the bed, which was, like, it was so painful for him, it knocked him out, kind of thing. So when he woke up the next day, I was just like, Haley, what was that all about? And that's what he described to me. I never actually stayed the night in that house again.
Oh, I bet not. I
that
wouldn't
scared the shit
either.
out of me. And he actually ended up going home not long after. Different reasons as to why he went home. Him and my uncle got into a fight, but that's another story. But yeah, it's definitely something that runs in the family.
Could you please stop slamming doors? This child never uses a doorknob to close a door gently behind her. She flings it. You know what? And she gets that from her dad.
I was about to say that.
I've gone through so many doorknobs in this house.
Yep. Oh, speaking of these kids. Okay, so there's another story when I was still living here, right? When I was here, like, it wasn't a thing for the kids to come call in bed with me at night. Like, it was just.
Are you going to tell them?
Yes, I am.
I get to tell that
Okay,
one, wench.
You tell.
This should happen to me, and it was so freaking scary. Okay.
It started with me.
Okay, and when I say scary, like, I'm used to ghosty stuff, and
it's because it involved your kid.
Well, and not just that. Like, you'll understand in a minute, but, like, I'm used to ghosty stuff. This stuff doesn't really scare me. And if I get uncomfortable and I get scared, I turn a fucking light on and I'm fine. And I'm good to go. I don't know what it is about having the light on, but I turn it on.
My
good.
dad says that spirits can't. It diminishes their power in the light.
Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. It just makes me more comfortable. So if I get sketched out and I start to feel overly watched and I can't get the feeling to go away, I think there's too many in the room or it's too strong, I'll just turn a light on and then I'm good to go. So anyway, I have migraines, and my husband and my lovely friend here and another friend of ours, we're all taking care of the kids, and I went to take a nap. Well, I ended up sleeping and sleeping and sleeping and sleeping.
You were
and
really
I think
stressed
I woke up at like around dinner time, and I got up long enough to eat something and go right back to bed. And I was out again. Well, we all sleep with fans on here. And I don't know about any of you, but like when the power goes out, I always hear that whoop before the power actually goes out. So I wake up to the whoop and the power's out. Fans are off. So I get up and I make my way with my phone light through the room. Okay, I got to backtrack a little bit. Before that, about an hour before that, I remember waking up a little bit and realizing my son was laying next to me. He's just a toddler at the time, right? So, and he didn't have the covers on him, so I pulled him closer and I tucked the covers over him and I smoothed his white blonde hair back and I kissed the top of his, little forehead and pulled him in real close, cuddled up to him. Yeah, and went back to sleep. Forward to the power going out, I climb out of bed. I go into the kitchen dining room area, and I met with our friend Slocum, who was staying here, and Manda, who's coming out of her room, and he was sleeping on the couch, and we all sleep with fans on, and they woke up as soon as their fans went off too, and we all converged, and we're like, this is really weird, because we live next to the border, or close to the border. We're on the border's power grid, so we rarely,
US-Canada border, by the way,
ever lose power here.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not
like
often.
even when we have a good winter storm, we're like, yeah, we're gonna lose power. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna do power outage things. Yeah, it never happens for us. It's out for maybe 20 minutes.
Prioritized kind of thing.
Because we're on their grid.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're standing there, and we're talking about it, and we're like, well, fuck no, we're gonna have to go back to sleep. Without our fans on.
Trying to like download apps on our phone.
Well,
to, like, hit the noise.
I head back to the bed, and as I'm climbing in, I realize my son isn't there anymore. And so I come back out to the front room where they're still talking. And I'm like, did y'all see the boy come through here? And they're like, what? And I was like, the baby, the boy. Did you see him come through here? And this bitch is like, girl, he's in my bed.
Had been since they had gone to bed that night.
And I'm like, no, he was just in my bed. And she goes, no, he's been in my bed. I said, well, do you think maybe he woke up and he came back and then went back maybe? And she's like, no, he's literally been asleep next to me all night long.
Yeah. And so I remember I was saying, like, I had the king-size bed. Like, it was up against the wall. And, like, when the kids would climb into bed with me, I'd put them against the wall because I'm really paranoid about them falling out of the bed.
And he's little.
Yeah, he is a little kid, yeah. I mean, he isn't anymore. He's actually pretty tall.
I think maybe 4 years old.
If that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that. He was still pretty young. So he was against it. He would have had to physically climb over me, and I'm a light sleeper. So, like, if he would have, like, did the whole in and out thing, because it did happen, obviously, would have known.
Yeah.
And it's, like she was saying, like, she'd been having a really, really bad night that night with the migraines, so I didn't even put him into bed with her that night. Like, I just put him in bed with me.
Yeah.
So he'd been in bed the whole night. So, remember, when she said...
So I'm like, yeah, no, like, literally, he was just in bed with me. And she's like, honey, he couldn't have been. He has been in bed with me all night. So she's like, okay, hold on 1 second. And she goes down the hallway, and she comes back, and she's like, no, he's literally laying in the same position he's been laying in all night. And I'm like...
I was like, I was trying to help out, because at this point, I didn't know.
Yeah. So I don't know what I hugged and kissed and cuddled and made sure it was warm, but it wasn't my son. And I still get sketched out thinking about that. And a theory that I have that makes me feel a little bit better sometimes is maybe it was a timeline slip.
I never thought of that.
Someone else brought it up to me. They're like, maybe it was a timeline slip. And speaking of timeline slips, since we're in spooky stuff, I had a pile of boxes, don't judge me, and clothes in the corner of my room for a while.
Renovating.
No, this is when Mella still lived here. But I had that big. I remember when Trudy was doing like the drive for school.
Yes.
My daughter for her senior project did a donation drive, and we had laundry piled up everywhere because we had to rewash it before we could take it in.
Right. Well, anyway. And they wanted like one giant donation, and she had like, it took months for her to build it all up.
So we had piles of shit everywhere. So I had this huge pile of clothes in this corner of my room. Now, I am really picky, and I wear my flip-flops all year round in my home. So I leave them at the foot of my bed. I went to bed one night, and I'd taken my shoes off at the foot of the bed, and when I got up in the morning, they were gone. Okay? I could not find them anywhere. And they had been at the foot of the bed when I went to sleep. So I'm getting mad at the kids, thinking the kids took them. And then finally, being the smartass that I am, my bedroom door's open, and I yell, Mella! She's like, yeah, and I'm like, I think I left my fucking shoes in the other damn timeline. This is where it gets funny. So then I'm like, that gets me thinking. Like, stuff ends up in weird spots in this house all the time. So I pull that huge mountain of laundry out. Because I'm going to start washing it anyway, and I'm putting it into laundry baskets. My shoes are together in the center on the floor underneath this mountain of laundry that has been there for a week. So timeline slip?
Yeah.
Ghosties playing around?
Well, look at my wallet last week. So we get done filming last week, right? And I have a habit. So like when I get home, I take my wallet, because it's just like a little like card size one, out of my pocket with my car keys, and I put it in my desk drawer so that they're always there, like when I go to leave kind of thing. If not, I lose them, and it's a whole thing. So like I get home and I'm irritated because I'm trying to call my husband. He didn't answer the whole time.
Yeah, she's judging you. Yeah, hubby.
Yeah, we talked about it. He knows. It's safety rules, But anyway, so like, I walk in the house, go to put my keys in there, and I'm just like, what the fuck's my wallet? And, you know, I have anxiety. So like something big like losing all of my debit cards, my credit cards, my driver's license,
panic mode.
my work badge. It's all in my wallet. So like, and of course my mind starts racing. Cool, I'll just go to the bank tomorrow and get a new bank card. But like, how am I going to prove I'm me? I don't have my driver's license. Well, if I have to go get a new driver's license, how am I going to prove what that is? And of course it's just like, calm the F down, message
Dominoes.
her. And I was like, hey, can't find my wallet, not in my car, not in my coat, not in my tote where I keep my tarot cards. Did I leave it there? And she's just like, no. Like, and she, of course, it takes her a few minutes. She looks around and she goes, no, I'm so sorry, I'm not saying it. She's like, but I'm going to straighten up here in a minute and I'm going to look. But my anxiety is just like, go there right now. So it's about a 10-ish minute drive to my house. So, and of course I didn't have my license. So I didn't feel comfortable driving. Because again, we live in a small border town and you'll get pulled over for the dumbest stuff since ever. That's a whole nother story.
That can be a whole nother episode.
That's a whole and a half. Anyway, so...
that one will include why my husband went to prison.
Yeah. It's a good one. So my husband, you know, goes to get in the car. We have to like get the baby bundled in the car. We had to fight her because this is against her routine. This is definitely like, you know, 11-ish o'clock at night. And she's just like fighting it, even though like this is her most favorite person since ever. So I'm like, do you want to go see Auntie Favorite or not? And she's just like, It's like the first time she was there. I didn't tell you about that. She was mad. She wanted to know because it was her bedtime, past her bedtime. But anyway, so like we get here and just looking around like where I had kept my things, kind of thing, because it's easy enough for like with the traffic for things to get knocked over, right?
Yeah.
And never for a second I'm just like, well, someone stole it. That's not
Not
unless it fell out of my pocket in the driveway area, and there's a lot of neighborhood kids, and like there's no cash because I don't keep cash. But anyway, so we're looking around, not finding it. Well,
okay? I got a piece of pizza in my eye.
how did you get pizza in your eye?
Are you okay?
I don't
Just
know.
blink a lot. Hey, the mukbang part of the video's over.
This kid, I swear.
It's weirdo.
He's a weirdo. They're kind of weirdo,
He's
though.
my weirdo.
Okay, so I rush back over, right? And I'm just like looking around for my wallet. And remember she was saying like the kids crawl under the table. When we film the table, we move it kind of catty corner, so we like, you know, get this angle. It just wasn't working with it. All of the chairs and everything had been moved. The entire floor had been cleaned up, and we were just looking around, couldn't find my wallet. Well, after a few minutes, like we're sitting here and like, of course I'm trying to like be cool and calm. I'm freaking out on the inside, and she's trying to calm me down because she knows I'm freaking out on the inside. And suddenly her granddaughter Callie was just like, oh, is that it? And sure enough, there it was under the table where we had literally just looked.
Where were we?
My wallet. Anyways, we found it.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, we had looked. Like, it was right underneath the table, and it's right next to where I have like this tote that I bring my tarot cards over in, because I can't just bring a few decks. We never know like what we're gonna read on, or if we're gonna change our mind, or like which ones are gonna call. So
when we go to do a reading, it's not we're gonna use these decks for it. It's this is the reading that we're going to do, and then it's like the decks jump out to us.
And the only time we're ever just like, hey, what deck are you using? Is there between the two of us, we have probably about 60 decks of tarot cards. Yeah.
I have over
but we
20.
only have one duplicate.
No, we have two.
The Queen of the Moon. Which one?
The Intel.
But they're two different.
Yeah, they are, but they're pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is mine has 4 and yours has 2.
Right. But they're tarot.
But I mean, aside from that, they're exactly the same. But any tarot deck you get, if you guys do not know the difference between Oracle and Tarot, is every single tarot deck you get, no matter what the suits are called, no matter what the artwork is like, it always means the same thing.
Whereas Oracle could be literally anything.
You could have 50 decks and none of the cards mean the same thing for anyone. And if you're an intuitive reader like me, then the cards mean what the cards tell you.
Yep. Which is why sometimes we'll pull a card and it'll mean something in one reading, and then we'll do it in a completely another one, and it's the exact same. So I'm also intuitive.
Well, they generally mean similar things. It's just for different people.
Yeah, different messages for different people, kind of thing. But it can be a thing where it does vary a little
Like
bit.
Anger and Chains from one of my decks. For one person, it could mean feeling bound to something that makes you angry, and for another, it could just be you just feel trapped.
Yep. See that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Similar message, but a little bit different. Yeah. Oh, I know we were talking about the graveyard dirt earlier. Talking about the dogs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so like obviously we're weird people. You wouldn't be hanging out with us if you weren't. So one of our most favorite things to do is like we go to cemeteries. Not as often as we used to, but they're pretty. They're tranquil. Well, most of them. That one.
Yeah, we have one here that is
We don't go to.
bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Very bad juju. Really old because our area was like one of the last shipping places. I mean, obviously, like we said before, we're on the U.S. Canadian border, but it's like literally the last tip of the continental U.S. before you go to Alaska, kind of thing. So a lot of old settlers here, and yeah, that one cemetery has like stuff from like the 1860s, and it's just I don't know, it's weird energy. But anyway, so we were up at our second favorite. Well, my second. I can't speak for her, but my second favorite cemetery. And anyway, so we're at my second favorite cemetery locally, and we've been exploring the mausoleum.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this like really creepy mausoleum that's up there, and there was nobody else in the cemetery. It was just us.
Geocaching?
Not that time. No, we were EVP working.
Oh, pictures and EVP work.
Yeah. So it's it was a Sunday. I remember it was a Sunday. It was summer. It was just a really beautiful day. It was like late afternoon, early evening-ish, and we were the only ones in the cemetery, and we were there for like a good hour-ish, right? And then we go to leave, and so we like go back to my old Oldsmobile, that car, get into the car, and we had noticed like while we were there that there was these two dogs that had been playing in the cemetery, but just like whatever, like we live in a pretty rural area, like that's not anything out of the ordinary. A lot of houses were around the cemetery, so we just didn't think anything of it. But when we go to leave the cemetery, like we get in the car, seatbelts on, Rent was playing on the radio. I don't know why. No, it wasn't Rent. It was System of a Down. When Angels Deserve to Die. Yeah. Yes, right. So that's just like blaring through, and I look up. I was like, Christy, and so she looks up, and the dogs had sat on either side of the car, about 4 or 5 feet in front of the car, out of the road on either side, and that in itself is just like okay. Weird, but like whatever, right? They were two black dogs, longer hair, but the thing is they were both sitting like this, staring.
And they had the weirdest, like yellowy colored eyes. It was so weird. And the one was more gray than black.
Yeah,
but
it's the eyes. They were like
it yellow. Almost like its coloring almost reminded me of an Australian Shepherd.
Yes.
But not with all the multicolor. It was just like black and gray. It was weird. And the other one was like pitch black. It was
just black and white. But the thing is they both had matching yellow eyes. Yeah. Which is just creepy as shit. But they're staring at us with their yellow freaking eyes, right? And so we're just kind of like look at each other and just like, time to go, as Angels Deserve to Die. Literally still blaring through, right? So like start to like just go slowly, because like my thought is that obviously they're dogs, and clearly demon dogs, but like dogs, and I didn't want to like hit them with the car, so I'm going slow, and as I go slow, they go from like this to like this, and they're watching, like their eyes are meeting us as we drive out, and then I'm just like, I'm scared, I'm freaked out.
I wish
this is not normal.
that my laptop hadn't died, because I had a really good camera at the time, and I was snapping pictures of
this,
and I have them on. If I can ever get the
hard drive
out of it, I should be able to like save the pictures. I just have them sitting upstairs in Dad's room.
Ooh, yeah, we should get them.
I've got so many pictures.
If we
on
get
there
these,
too.
we'll definitely put them on our Insta.
But it was crazy.
It was really, really. But the weirdest part, right? I mean, the weirdest part of all of that, right? So like we pass them and we start to go around the corner, and I like pan to look. They're gone.
Yeah.
They could
Okay,
not
and you have to
run away
understand
that
that there is a hill in the cemetery, and there are some trees, but for the most part, it's open. Like, and you can see all the way down that drive, over the little tiny hill, and out into this huge field that's out there. So unless they booked it to this 1 or 2 groves of trees really fast,
but we still would have seen them as the
Yeah.
point. Like, it wasn't just like, well, we drove for like 30 seconds and then looked back. It was just like, as soon as we got past them, I'm just like, what are they doing, kind of thing, right? There's just they couldn't.
And the weird part is too is like when we were walking to the car and we could see them like playing and moving around. It was that you don't know what type of dog it is or if it's friendly, so be quick but be cautious. And the closer we got to the car, the more it was get to the fucking car, get in the car.
Yeah, and that's the other weird thing too is like when we first noticed them, they were like playing far out in like that field she just described, just being dogs running back and forth, right? And then it was just like all of a sudden we decided, okay, hey, it's time to go, and they were at the car. Like,
well, they were like the car was here, they were off over here, so they would have had to have like come around. And another weird thing is we've never seen dogs in there before, and we would go there all the time.
That was like every week because we were like this one we were really huge into ghost hunting, so and
picture taking. So
we're sensitive to. We've like shared a bunch of stories. We have many more, of course, but like we go hunting for it too because we want protection.
We love it.
Look at so and the really and the other really weird thing is we've never seen them since.
No.
So weird.
So, I don't know.
It was just the eyes, man. I'm never gonna be able to see that.
Well, and it's like, okay, so like when a dog looks at you, you can kind of see their intelligence, right? This wasn't looking into dog's eyes. This was like looking into a person's eyes, really.
Yeah, and it like they gave the feeling of you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, it was
like we were the unwanted things,
the guardians or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's really hard to explain.
It's so hard to describe, but like it happened, and it was weird. It was really weird. Yeah.
We've had some incidents. The rising light outside where we did the whole movie scene.
Oh my god, that was insane. Okay, so that was the last summer that I lived here. So that was summer 2016.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a bunch of smokers that live here. Okay, and we have butt cans out front and butt cans out back. Well, my dad calls down from upstairs because he's like, I smell burning paper. And it's me and Amanda, so
we go out there. I'm
like, Dad smells burning paper. So I'm like, you go check the front. I'm going to go check the back. Because our first thought is the butt can didn't, smoldering. So she runs out front. I run out back. And then we're like, nothing. So I walk this length of the house, this length of the house. She does the same out front. We don't see or smell anything.
Nothing.
We do this. Nothing.
We meet up in the backyard.
Yeah, we meet up back here on the patio, and we used to have a pear tree that sits here. Or that was there. We cut it down. I turned it into a table. Cool story. Anyway, and we're standing there, and we're sky watchers, and it's dark out.
Well, and it's I think also because of where we live in the Pacific Northwest, we have enough light pollution that it doesn't it only ruins meteor showers for us.
Yeah.
But we watch the sky to watch the satellites. Sometimes the ISS flies over.
The UFOs.
The UFOs.
So we're standing there, and there's this light. Oh, and we there's a major international airport, maybe an hour and a half north of us.
What's in Vancouver? It's 40 minutes.
Is it 40 minutes?
Yeah, it's not far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
we get a lot of sky traffic.
Yeah, so we're looking, and there's this light, and it's round and it's bright, and sometimes it'll be like a low traveling plane, and it's just the right angle. So we're looking at it, and I'm smoking a cigarette
about it. It just didn't. Usually we see a plane, it's it gets dim and then it gets
seemed
brighter,
bigger and brighter than it should have been.
This is bright. It was bright.
Think just across the street you have an LED streetlight.
Yes. It was too big and too bright. It didn't make any sense.
So she's looking at it and I'm looking at it and she goes, "Do you think that's an air?" And that's about as far as she got. And it just starts going up.
Yeah.
And up and up. And getting smaller and dimmer and smaller and dimmer and smaller and dimmer till it's about the size and color of a satellite, and then it just takes off. And then we both do this.
And it's not just takes off it just disappeared behind a cloud. It was a clear night, and we saw it shoot off. So think about when you see a shooting star, right? You see it come in really, really super thin, and then as soon as the meteor hits the atmosphere, it gets big and bright and goes away, and you see the tail. This was the opposite. Yeah. So it was it was super, super bright. It was it left our atmosphere.
And it had one small light flare up as it got to what I assume is our atmosphere as it was exiting.
And then it was gone.
Yeah.
Gone. And of course we have that movie moment.
So we did that.
Like,
look ahead, look back
did
at
that
each
just
other.
happen?
And at the same time, we're both like, did we really just see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've never seen anything like it ever since, but it was just like, and of course, like, we're nerds, so we got really obsessive with looking at, like, local news sites, scanner sites on Facebook, looking at, like, some of the NASA.
We don't just
sites.
assume, we like to do our research.
Because it's one of those things, like, if we're going to be like, hey, let's do a YouTube video one day where we talk about how crazy we are.
Let's make sure it wasn't a weather balloon.
Yes, weather balloon my ass.
I mean, if you insist.
Right, exactly.
Just don't tell your husband.
Yeah, right. He'd probably watch. But I'm
going to look that up later. It's going to be some kinky move. And I'll be like, oh, dude, man, that move
Do you
really
ever, like,
exists.
think of something and be like, I'm not going to Google that. Okay. Never mind. I'm going to put this on YouTube. I can't talk about it. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
There's just
And then there's little ears in the room, too.
Oh, yeah, that too. There was a term that, like, at work, I used to do this thing, right? Where we'd break everybody up into teams, and, like, it would turn into a thing where it'd be, like, 20 minutes to figure out the freaking team name, right? Ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm just like, cool. All right, group number 1, what's your favorite food? Cool. Waffles. Nice. All right, somebody give me a color. You see where I'm going?
Yeah. Well, I thought maybe you were going to tell a story of how you and your niece had a secret, or had, had your club word, and you had no idea what it meant for the longest time.
I think we can actually share that one because he shared that one on this. So I'll share that one here in a minute, right? But anyway, so I had no idea what that color waffle was. I never heard that expression before.
Did they do it on purpose?
Yes. And then they were just like, hey, you don't know that, you should go Google that right now on the work computer. And I'm just like, I feel like this is a trap that's going to get me called into HR, so I'm not going to do it. And so I came home and I'm telling her about it. I'm just like, what does that mean? And she's like, oh, honey, do not Google that.
Don't.
And now I know. No, the other thing, oh my god, I feel so disgusting.
Oh, I laugh every time I think about this.
So
was it Rai Rai?
It was Rai Rai.
Okay.
So
big cutie pie fan.
We used to, like, her and I used to just be the Auntie Amanda and Rai Rai show, and we would just nerd out on the weirdest thing. And she
they'd
got,
go
like,
places together.
Yeah,
and...
just do like just fun things. She went through, like, a really rough puberty because she's one with the Tourette's, and, like, yeah, it was just, I mean, she needed a break, right? And she got really obsessed with PewDiePie. This is when, you know, he was really big. I mean, he still is, I guess, but this is like when he first, like, climbed up there.
Yeah, when he first, well, he's been popular for a long time. Yeah. But you gotta understand, she's 17 now, almost 18 years old, and she must have been
like 12, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
years
a while ago.
So anyway, like, he had this video where, you know, obviously it's PewDiePie. He's playing a game and he's yelling at the screen about, I can't even fab. And so, like, for the longest time, we just thought it was funny, right? So she'd say it to me, I'd say it to her, and I'd be like, Ryan, you make it so I can't even I can't say it. And then she'd say it back to me, and then for months, this was just our thing, right? And then one day I was just like, hey, so, like, not to be like that really weird, like, old aunt, but, like, what does that mean? And she was just like, oh, I don't know, I thought you knew what it meant. And I was just like, okay, well, let's awkward, let's just go Google it.
Surprise!
Oh my god. I called, she was at work, I called her and I was just like, do you have any idea what I've been saying to your daughter?
Oh, I laugh.
Oh my
so
god.
much.
What do you mean?
No, you don't need to know what it means. It's not a good thing. Yeah. I should ask her if she remembers.
You should. Right.
What about the what is it called?
Careful.
Sorry. What about the molding dirt?
Oh, yeah, we got dirt from one graveyard and
Yeah,
it molded.
Yeah, that was when we got it from Bayview.
Yeah, but I think the reason that it molded is because it did its job.
Yeah. Well, because I had that on my altar for the...
No, it was in the windowsill.
Yeah, when I went to... So we went and got... So this is my absolute favorite cemetery. It's in Bellingham. And there's this pretty infamous statue in this one. It's called Angel Eyes. So it's like this giant marble angel. And no matter where you go, her eyes follow you. Like... Yeah. Google it. It's a
This
thing.
is how notorious she is. Is we were walking there one day to take pictures. We're standing in front of her, and she's beautiful. We're taking pictures of her, and this car full of older women drives by, and the one on the passenger rolls the window down and goes, "Careful, ladies, that's angel eyes."
Right,
and it was very reminiscent. I wanted to turn around and say, "We are the weirdos, mister."
Right? I also think that you were just dating yourself. You're like, she rolled down her window.
I mean, she could have had an electric thing. But...
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh,
we are the weirdos, mister. Yeah.
that was funny. We're like, we know.
We know. Anyway, so we took some dirt from her base, just for some of our things that we use graveyard dirt. It's really good for protection, things like that.
Strong vibration headstones is a really good place to get your dirt for it, because it is a connection to the spirit world, because I mean, it's a cemetery, hello, and it's got a lot of good energy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, of course, we always ask for permission. Not that we're asking, hey, Mr. Caretaker, can we?
And we're not taking it out by the bucket loads either.
No. Just
and if you're not comfortable, actually, if you want to try it, and you're not actually comfortable with taking dirt out of the cemetery, go get yourself a good-sized container of dirt, hide it in a bush. Let it sit there for a couple of days. Let it absorb that energy. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It does all the same stuff, and it's really really good at what it does. Oh, now that I think about it, 100%. I think you're correct. But here's why. So, we went and did that, and then I had it in a Ziploc bag, right? And I put it on my windowsill to charge. And then I forgot it there for months. And then I went to go move out, because I, met my now husband, and we were moving in together. And I was just like, oh, here's this thing of dirt that's molded. Must have done its job, right? But now that I think about it, remember how we were talking about the shadow?
Yeah.
Didn't see the shadow for the longest time.
Weird.
And then we took the dirt out, and guess what came back?
Yeah, I don't think he's a malevolent spirit, though.
Oh, I don't think so either, but still at the same time.
I think he's residual.
Awesome. Look what I was dealing with at the time.
Yeah, I think it probably had more to do with your biggest mistakes. Negative energies. Yeah, I think it has more to do with that. I really honestly think that the shadow being is just something residual, because it doesn't move. It doesn't say anything.
Well, it doesn't move from that wall, but it hugs the wall.
Yeah, but whenever I've seen him, like when I've slept in the room back there with the kids, he just stands there.
Yeah, I've seen him move.
But it's crazy.
Kind of like Peter Pan style, when his shadow.
the shadow.
Oh yeah, I mean, it looks like he'll come into the room sometimes and then just stand, but it's almost like it's on a loop.
I could agree with that. Yeah.
Like where it's
but there's been times when it's just like you see him walk the wall.
Oh, see, I've never seen him do that.
I have. A couple times.
Yeah, but see, you've also spent time in there too.
Well,
so
yeah, I used to live there. Not just live there. I mean, there was a time I didn't leave my room.
Yeah, I think I just always got the feeling it was more residual. Not a conscious spirit.
In Caden's room.
Yep. I was told him about it. Mm-hmm.
And the whispers in the closet. The time I hugged something that I thought was your brother.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot. I
do.
Remember?
So many experiences. Oh, the one I want to tell though is the one that chased me down the hallway. Because that's another genuinely scary thing for me. Okay, so like I said, I deal with this stuff my whole life, so I'm not really afraid of it. Might make me uncomfortable, might have to turn a light on, but I'm never terrified.
We've learned how to counteract.
Okay, so I am a very anxious person, and I have to do a walkthrough of my house every night to make sure certain lights are off, certain lights are on. My kids sleep on the other side of the house for me, so I always want to make sure that the hall light is on for them in case they have to come into my room my room in the middle of the night or something. Well, my oldest likes to try to, or not my oldest, my middle daughter likes to try to shut.
You have two.
You're
Really,
my middle, she's
talking.
my middle daughter, not middle child. You're my youngest daughter. Yeah. Can you not please, Trainwreck? You do the math there, Turbo.
Acting like
Anyway, so they're all in bed. And I'm doing my nightly routine, checking the knobs on the oven multiple freaking times.
Because we've had to.
Yeah, that's
We'll
a whole
talk about
nother
that.
story. So I go to the hallway, right? And I see that the hallway light is off. Well, our house is dark. So I can't see the end of the hallway. And the light switch is about this far in down the hallway, right? So I have the living room lights off. The dining room and the kitchen lights are the only thing that's on. So I'm talking pitch black. I can't see the end of the hallway. And normally it doesn't faze me. I walk over, I flip the light on. Well, I'm reaching into this dark hallway and I get about halfway to that light switch and I'm like, nope. And I just start to get this feeling of nope, mega nope. So I turn and I don't like things to know that I'm afraid or that they've made me uncomfortable. Right? Exactly. Because certain things feed off of that. So I casually turn around and I start walking back toward to go around the wall and head to my room. I get 2.5 steps into it and every fucking cell in my body yelled, run, bitch. And I did. I ran to my bedroom and slammed the door behind me and I was fucking terrified. I was shaking. And that's never happened in my house before. Mm-hmm. That was also right before we had to redo the words.
Yeah, there was another phone call where it's just like, I'll be over tomorrow afterwards.
But I could feel it breathing down the back of my neck. I mean, I know not literally because I don't really have breath, but I could feel it breathing down the back of my neck.
Oh,
like if I had faltered or I had slipped or I had tripped, it had got me. So my poor children were left to fend for themselves if they had to come down the dark hallway because I wasn't going back. Thankfully, they didn't have any issues, but yeah.
I remember that one time when you used the thing and Dayton and Jessica were over, and it kept saying her name.
Oh,
we used to do the ghost radio.
Yeah. Kept saying Jessica's name.
We were like.
My favorite with that was the first time we ever used it here. It was like, is there anybody out there that wants to say anything? And this uber white girl, basic white girl voice comes through and says, "What's up, bitches?" Do you remember that? And I was like,
we're like, nope.
Wrong channel. Or we were talking about how Z's a douchebag.
Oh my
and it
God.
Goes, yep. He's a bastard.
I remember this one time when you used it and you put it on the speaker when we were all out there, and I was like, Rai, why do you have to be so annoying? And the thing is, he was like, yep, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one. No, the reason we have to check the knobs, because we have gas, like it's gas here, right? And there was this one morning, you
have to keep in mind, I just said that I'm neurotic, and I check that bitch. Like, everything. When I shut it off, I count this way off, and this way off. And if I get to the kitchen and I even think to myself, was one of the knobs slightly off, I have to turn around and I have to go do it again. I'm very OCD about it.
Yeah. But I mean, safety rules, right? Yeah. So, again, this was the summer of back surgery, so like, was definitely home in bed kind of thing. And it was just like right before 6 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing noises. It was kind of like the whispers, but it was basically like, get out of bed. And I didn't want to get out of bed. It was painful. I hated getting out of bed. But it was just like this overwhelming, get your ass out of bed. So I was just like, well, I gotta pee anyway. So I get up, open my door, and I got hit with this wall of just gas smell. So I panic. That's like one of my biggest fears. Because if you smell it, it's in your brain. Which means if it gets lit up, you're on fire from the inside out. Like, it scares the shit out of me. So immediately go into the kitchen. And one of the burners was on basically high, but there was no flame. So basically high amount of gas head. And we have no idea how long, because she probably went to bed at like, what, 2-ish?
Yeah.
And every night she checks it. And this was just before 6 a.m. that this had happened. Nobody else had been up. Like I said, I'm a light sleeper, and I had not slept that night. So I don't know what caused that. I don't know what.
It's happened more than once. It's happened a few times. And recently, I haven't had a chance to tell you this either. We just got a new stove.
It's so pretty.
It's beautiful. Anyway, because the other one crapped the bed, and I didn't have a working oven for like a year and a half, so I had to cook everything. Anyway,
sorry.
So the other night, the girls were up late, Rai and some of her friends, and they made burritos or something in the oven.
No.
Can you just not, please, child? Anyway, I have a great relationship with my kids, but they also think of me like big sister, and they can just cut me off and do what they want, and we have to reestablish that I'm the mom.
Give birth to me.
Stop, or I'm going to make you leave. I mean, technically it'd be possible. It's like artificial, like inserting the egg already fertilized. Like sisters carry for sisters sometimes.
I've had a few sisters offer to carry for me.
Yeah. Anyway, you're sidetracking us. It's a thing. It can happen. Anyway, so my dogs are like going off and going off and going off, and I'll get up and I'll say, guys, stop, right? They're in kennels at night, so it's not like they could be tearing anything up or anything. And so I'm tired, and I yell from my room because they're just, wall away from me, really. And I'm like, knock it off. And they'd stop. And then I would doze back off. Well, after about 4 hours of this, I realized that every time they're going off, I hear my daughter's dog, Kuma, like literally lunging at the cage, and I can hear him hit it and it rattle, and it clicks that it's not his normal, I'm barking to be an ass bark. He's barking at something. So I'm like, I got to get out of bed and make sure someone hasn't snuck into my house. Now, mind you, my husband works in Oregon and doesn't stay here with us while he's working down there. So aside from my son-in-law, who lives here with my daughter, there's no man in the house right now. Temporarily.
No man.
My dad and my brother upstairs, but still is upstairs. Anyway, so I go out there and I'm like looking, and there's nothing. Like everything's locked up, doors locked, garage is fine. And then I'm walking back by, and I'm like, oh, I should probably get a drink of water. And I go into the kitchen. I realize it's really warm in there. And I'm like, what in the world? And I look over it, and the oven is still on. So I think that there was something in the house, something that's here, was riling the dogs up to try to... Really? That's going to be for the whole world to hear.
Are you really sorry, though? Because you covered your mouth like, oh my God, before you did it.
No, it's... And oop.
Stop it.
And oop.
Stop it.
Poop.
I did not say poop. Now I did.
You just did.
Anyway,
Liar.
I think that something was riling the dogs up to try to get me to get out there so that I could shut the oven off. But I was tired and I was lazy. I didn't want to actually get out of bed. So like it progressed to them actually like lunging at the cages.
Should make sense, trying to protect the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the weirdest call once. So I work for a phone company. I'm not going to say which one because, privacy reasons. And this is when I was still taking calls, like, regularly, right? So this is, like, circa, I don't know, like, what team was I on? Like, 2013 kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So we get this customer calls in, and they're just like, hi.
What were you going to ask me?
She still knows what it means to fap. We were sharing embarrassing stories, and she's just like, hey, remember that time when you and Rai had a fun word?
Yeah. Pizza sandwich.
Nice deflection.
Like the deflection.
Continue.
Yeah.
Like the deflection. Okay, anyway, so we get this call, right? And she wanted to speak to the last person she spoke to, and at the time that wasn't a possibility within our company. It wasn't a thing. Literally it's whoever answered the phone got the call, and we had like 20 something call centers at the time. So I was just like, hey, you got me, like I can help you out, like what's going on. So she explained that it was a private thing, she needed to talk to them, and they're just like, well, we don't really have private things with customers. I was like, but I can hear you out, like what's going on. So she finally opens up to me, and what she said was she had originally called in for troubleshooting help, which, like, again, cell phone company, happens all the time. And what she had said was she was trying to go to bed, and she'd set her alarm on her phone, like we all do, and was just about to fall asleep when she got a phone call. And of course she's irritated because, like, who the F is calling her? Like, it was like 11 o'clock her time of night, right? And she looks at caller ID, and it's her phone number on the caller ID. And keep in mind, this is 2013. Spoofing was not a thing yet. Ghosting was not a thing yet. And to this day, with technology-wise, from what I'm about to tell you, wasn't a thing. Still isn't. So she's like, okay, that's weird. Phone's glitching out. Answers it. Hi, hello. And what she hears back is, hi, hello. It's like she's talking.
Oh, I've had that experience before, but with a landline.
Yeah, with the cell phones.
Yeah.
Like, because the landline, sometimes the lines will get crossed, right? But not on cell phones. It's impossible. There's no lines to cross, right? So, like, she's hearing her own voice, and she's freaked the frick out, right? And she can't go back to sleep, so she calls for technical support, because that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's kind of, like, if we have, like, the ghosting or spoofing going on, like, kind of, but not like this.
These are yours.
Oh,
you can keep talking.
Yeah. Anyway, so when they were doing the troubleshooting, like, it was literally like one of those, like, hey, like, there's no explanation for this. Like, they tried a couple things to make sure, like, her call forwarding wasn't set up weird and just, like, you know, technical stuff. And it was one of those, like, hey, I don't have an answer for you.
Is that yours?
But the girl that was helping her was just like, listen, I'm gonna file a ticket for you. Right by the door, please.
Yeah, I was gonna grab another piece of pizza.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Wait,
So she says, you know, file a ticket. I'll give you a call back in a couple of days, but like it's probably just like a one-off. That's not going to happen again. But like we'll try and see if we can research it further. Left it at that, right? So at this point, like this girl, like she's frustrated because now it's just like cool. Now I'm getting one less hour of sleep. I'm exhausted, so she's like trying to go to sleep, right? And again, she's on the brink of sleep, and it happens again. So, like, again, it's her number on there. At this point, she's just like, I'm saying, like, who the fuck is this? Like, why are you calling me? And that's what she hears is, who the fuck is this? Why are you calling me? Right? So she gets really, really upset, turns her phone off, and is, like, waiting for it to reboot back on when she realizes she smells gas.
I know.
So she... Oh, shit, someone's in the kitchen. Okay, so, she calls the gas company because at that point she realizes that like she's in danger, right? Fire department shows up. They literally said had she fallen asleep she would not have woken up because the gas was so bad in her house, and that's if a spark hadn't happened, kind of thing. Had that phone call not come in, she would have died.
That's crazy.
So she was actually calling back to like, listen, I need to talk to this girl. Like she tried so many things with me, and like I still don't know what it was. Obviously, it was divine intervention because she would have died. Like you're saying, Eve, like if a spark wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have woken up.
Yeah.
Communication.
Yeah, like she literally had to like leave her house for a couple days while it aired out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like legit, like there's no technical explanation for this. Makes no sense. None. Yeah, that's a story that's never left because I'm just like, I don't know what to say to you right now, other than you clearly have a guardian angel that likes to use cell phones.
Yeah.
But I mean, modern days, gotta get our attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's hilarious is a lot of people I work with are subscribers. They're gonna be like, I know who you work for.
I know it.
Awkward. Yeah, that happened.
But, I have. Okay, the one thing you have to understand about my house is I'm kind of like the Lighthouse Mission meets a Boys and Girls Club.
I said earlier you taking straights.
I do. So, like, my kids, the majority of their lives, we've had people, you know, they're down and out friends that have slept on our couch. When my husband's out of town, my children will give up their bedroom and they'll come crash with me because I have a California king and, you know, my room's pretty big and they'll just do the nice thing and let the friend have the room for a little bit. It's just something we do. We've always been giving like that, and I'm a fixer. I like to take care of people. So at the time, my honorary son and his girlfriend, I would call her my honorary daughter, but because I love her, but that just sounds weird when I say my honorary son and my honorary daughter were sleeping in the bedroom together. Anyway, they were staying in my kids' room.
Also,
and
same room that I used to live in.
they had a loft bed in there with a larger bed underneath. And it was, I don't think August was born yet.
No,
Their daughter wasn't born yet. I think she was pregnant with her, though.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
she made me sleep in there.
And anyway, so we had been talking about how the thing had chased me and how the thing had tried to crawl inside my dream and the thing leaning over me in bed. And she had mentioned, she's like, you know, there's something in the kids' room that wasn't there before. And like we all trade stories. People have stayed here, they've experienced it. So she's like, it's not. It's
a passage.
It's something new. She's like, it's very similar to the thing that crouches at the end of the hall, but it's not like it, if that makes sense. And I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. She's like, but it crawls the walls. And she's like, that's the part that bothers me. She's like, usually it'll just hang out in the corner or something. She's like, but it's gotten to where it'll like crawl up underneath the loft and crawl along the bottom of the loft. And then my daughter saw it crawl out of the bedroom and along the wall. And that's when we realized we really need to cleanse. And
yeah, that was can you come over and help cleanse from the inside out?
Yeah, sometimes I'll be like, I need to redo my wards, and then like 2 months later I'll be like, I need to redo my wards. And we get busy and we don't get around to it. But this was literally I called her that night. Or I guess it would be that morning, actually.
Yeah, it was that morning because I came over after work.
Yeah, and then she came over that night. And when I say this dream was scary, it was scary. I don't ever have a lot of nightmares. I used to have nightmares about my kids when they were little, but I came to the realization that
Not real.
no, someone was like, because I went to a forum and was like, can you please explain these dreams to me? They're horrible, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, I think it's your lack of confidence in being a mother, and it's manifesting in these weird dreams where your children get hurt.
TFO.
Right? And I'm like, actually, I don't think so, because I'm very confident in my mothering. I said, but after further reflection, I realized between your comment and what I've been thinking on, that it's not a lack of confidence in myself. It is my lack of control over the world around my children.
Oh, that makes sense.
My fear of something outside of me or my home hurting my kids. And as soon as I figured that out, those dreams stopped. So I don't ever have I'll have weird dreams or crazy dreams or semi-creepy dreams, but I don't ever have scary dreams.
I had a doozy of one.
And I've had 3, although I think the second one with the hooded. Okay, so if we have any metaphysical people that are watching this, or any very spiritual people, maybe y'all can help me out here, because I am really at a loss. So I'm not gonna tell you the whole story, because I think we should have a dream series. But this one, in my dream, there was these really tall, and I don't want to say skeletal because it's not the right word, but really thin.
Noodle-like.
No.
Really,
stop.
Sorry.
Really thin, tall beings that were wearing these off-white shrouds that were very gauzy, and it covered them. And I saw I don't know if it was multiple that I saw, or because it was kind of different points in the same area where it just moved a little bit, and it was just one. But in my dream, I felt like it was more than one, if that makes sense. And I don't know, it got me in the dream, and I was shrouded, and I couldn't move anything but my head, and even that took a lot of effort. I'll tell the whole dream in another series, but anybody have any clue what they might be? Because after further reflection, although I was afraid in the dream, I really feel like it was more representation of me fighting my spirit guides and my emerging abilities. It was scary for me, because it was right around the time that the shadow reading thing came out. And so I think what I was seeing was there to try to help me, but I was afraid of it.
I could see that, though. But I'm not sure.
No, I don't know.
I had a dream last night that my brand new car got stolen, but it felt like a nightmare. This was a thing.
Weird.
This was a thing that was done to bait me into danger. That's what it felt like. And then I woke up being yeah, I have insurance. That sucks, but I pay extra for gap insurance.
I'd be fine.
I mean, it's a really expensive. Well, expensive for me. My car loan's a lot. But that's why I have the gap insurance. So it's rational me is just yeah, that would really suck if my car got stolen. But there's things in place to protect it. But
the only part of the dream that I had, I know, that doesn't make much sense to me, really, aside from the shrouded figures, is a friend of mine was in the dream, and he kept trying to tell me not to look at it, and I couldn't stop myself. And then after it took me over, and I was turning my head to him, I was getting ready to say, DB, help me, and what came out was, DB, I will smite you.
Well, I remember you telling me about
Like,
that.
I don't know. And before anybody's like, maybe you have issues with DB. No, we're tight. We're good. We're
He's a
cool.
good guy.
He's a good guy. We talk spiritual shit all the time. He's a really good friend. There's no weirdo-ness or hard feelings there, so it's not some underlying thing.
Damn. Let us know.
Yeah.
That's something that you know of.
Like, the
That's a
first
weird
one that I'm
one.
going to tell when we tell this is, like, it will make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You got about
Let's do
half of the
dreams next
middle
time.
one. So I've given you about maybe a little less than half of the middle one. Basically about the things that were in it. The rest of it, I don't know if y'all can really figure that out either. And then the third one, like, you'll kind of see, like, why I was afraid in the first one and why I was afraid in the second one. But, like, the middle one is just kind of throws me a little bit.
That's crazy.
So I don't know if it's something I should be afraid of and continue to be afraid of. Maybe something else was climbing in there, but that's...
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess in the dream, it just felt like I was afraid of it taking over. That's why I attributed it to my fighting
with, like,
the,
everything, like,
the shadow
waking
side.
up. Yeah, that
readings.
would make sense.
Like,
but still, man, that's weird.
yeah,
That
I
is
will smite
weird.
you. DB's like, I was telling DB about the dream, and he's like, what did I ever do to you? And I'm like, I don't know, dude.
That sounds like a him answer.
But hey, in the dream, you knew what they were.
yeah, so
So
tell me.
you tell me.
You tell me.
Like, y'all were obviously friends that had a falling out because
Right.
you didn't want me to look at them, and they wanted to smite you. So you explain that shit to me,
Consider
dude.
yourself tell me what
They were frenemies.
Right?
They used to be friends,
Anyway,
Yeah.
but then they lost their
I agree.
friendship.
Dreams on the
Yeah,
next
let's
one.
do dreams on the next one. I think that'd be really, really good. But yeah, like, leave us a comment if you have another suggestion. I know at the beginning of this we had like a couple of things lined up that we want to do, but we want to make this an ongoing thing. Eventually, when we get enough subscribers, we'll just do this live and we
Ooh,
can,
that
like,
would be so much
interact.
fun.
Yeah, we can interact and make it a lot of fun.
Hopefully by then we have the filming room done.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Like,
great.
I love my kids, guys, don't get me wrong, but if I'm ever doing anything that is just for me, this is what I get. And you can't see the other one. She's
There's
just
literally 3 of them in here.
silently standing off in the corner.
Yo. And you don't see mine.
And the
so she's
fourth
at home with
one
her
might
daddy.
be here, but she's in bed sleeping.
Yeah.
And my granddaughter's upstairs spending the night with the grandparents,
Mhm.
the great grandparents.
Yeah. I guess what we'll leave you with, since it's like over 2 hours. Okay, so most recent ghost scene. A few weeks ago, after I was leaving here to go home after filming, I was just like, I looked back at the back door, which is this one right here, and there was a little boy standing at the door. So I shot her a text message real quick because it didn't feel right. Because first of all, this was like 9-10 o'clock at night.
Oh, it was later than that. It was like 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It was late.
late.
It was way too late for like a kid to be coming over, kind of thing. So I was just like, hey, heads up, you're about to have a kid at your door. And so she immediately goes and opens the door because it was late, right? And there's nobody there. There's nobody there. I saw a kid in like a Letterman type jacket, which sounds really weird for a kid to be wearing. But it was far away, but they had a hat on, like a baseball hat, and I couldn't see a face. But it looked like.
And
they
my
about to
kids
knock
were
on
all
the door.
accounted for. So.
Yeah,
I was
can't
in the
explain
room.
that one.
I
There
was
wasn't enough
sleeping
time
while
for anyone to run away.
Yeah.
And then the other one is actually at my current house, but there's a reason for this one. But couldn't sleep, obvi, because like nobody ever sleeps anymore.
Truth.
They don't sleep
And I
anymore.
looked all night.
And I heard a noise, and looked up, and there was a man standing in my doorway, foot of my bed, doorway kind of thing. And I realized it was my grandfather, which was pretty cool. But he died the next day. So honestly, I think the spirit part of him had already passed,
Yeah,
and he was
that's what we
coming to
talked
say
about.
bye. Yeah.
She called me, and I was like, I just
man,
think.
I
said,
was
I
in
think
tears.
his spirit left his
Yeah.
body days before.
Yep, and then went back to sleep, kind of thing. Yeah, because like he was standing there, right? And it was almost like in my head I can hear him say, "I love you, Sugar," which is just what he always called all of us grandkids was Sugar. He's from Arkansas.
Oh.
Yeah. And then it like turned to the side, and then all of a sudden I hear my daughter's door open. But like when it turned to the side, because I couldn't quite make out the human, I just knew that it was my grandfather. There was a silhouette with the glasses on that he used to wear. So I was just like, that's cool. And then I heard like, you know, Luna's door open and close, and that was that. And then so like the next morning, I didn't go to work because I knew I needed to get down to my dad's about an hour away. And he passed that night kind of thing. So it was just come to say goodbye. But that's the first time that it was someone I knew. That was interesting and new. And he's hung around the house for a little bit. Likes to knock stuff off my counters.
Do you think he's the one that was messing the volume up the last time we tried to record at the house?
No, that was before. He wasn't on hospice yet. That was still during summer.
The audio one?
Yeah, that was mid-July. Oh, maybe he had just entered into hospice. But he was still, like, with us.
No, we tried to do the one more recording at your place.
And that was like a couple of days ago.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just like...
No. You are 100% right now. I think because you were like, hey, maybe we shouldn't record. And I'm just like, I need the distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should skip it. And you're like, no, I need to do it. And we went to your house instead because Kurt took the dogs and Luna out.
Right.
And my kids were all home and...
Yeah. And then that's all we heard, like the whole recording was this high-pitched audio. That's why we didn't post it, because you wouldn't have been able to hear anything. Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense.
I bet you. He was a really tech-savvy guy.
Yeah, that would make much sense. As far as, like, recent ghosty things, we haven't had a whole lot of, like, uber cool stuff that's happened lately. Mostly it's been phantom doors opening and closing, so, like, the sound of it, but there's nothing... Like, the front door's locked, but it sounds like the front door opens and closes.
Speaking of shadow figures, I think it was not last night, but the night before, I was going to get to bed, and I had taken some melatonin, so I was, like, right on the cusp of, like, I'm about to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden, it got very, like, heavy in the room, and I felt like I was being watched, and it woke me up out of a dead sleep, and my closet, like, was pitch black, and it scared the fuck out of me, but the first thing that popped into my head was my mirror. So I looked at my mirror and I was like, oh, fuck. And then I had to turn on a light so I'd be able to sleep, because the whole time I was like wide awake, could not get
You need to lock
bed.
Your mirrors.
Yeah.
I won't have mirrors in my bedroom.
Yeah, that's why I don't have a mirror in my dressing room.
I did for a while, but it was a second-hand one, and we still, I think Sandra got it from a customer when she was still cleaning houses, but she set it on the side of the house for the longest time. We didn't know where it came from.
Oh yeah,
but, and this was
like,
and this goes into the paranormal shit. This was the craziest mirror. So it was the type that you hang on the back of your door and you open it up. So there's a mirror, and you open it up, and then there's 3 mirrors, right? Remember that one? So when you'd open it up, depending on when or which it chose, one of the 3 internal panels would be warped and wavy, but it was never the same one. People thought I was tripping.
Well, and the weird thing too is it's like you could go up and look at it and be like, that panel is wavy, and someone would come right behind you and be like, no, it's that one that's wavy. So it'd be different people.
Yeah. And people thought I was crazy for a little while until they realized that they were seeing it too. And it wasn't matching up.
Get rid of that bitch.
I covered it for the longest time.
I remember I took it into my room.
You didn't have it in your room too long.
No, because as soon as I moved it into my room, panels kept breaking for some reason.
Yeah.
Like something would happen, something would knock into it, or something would happen and I'd come home and there'd be a broken panel, to the point where like all of the panels were broken and I just ended up having to throw it out because it wasn't salvageable.
But I would cover it with a towel or a robe or something at night because I couldn't sleep. I felt uncomfortable. We were having nightmares.
And also,
the kids were uncomfortable with it. And then it got to the point where I would lay there at night after I covered it. And this is where it got to where I could keep it off without covering it, because I think I locked it. But not in the traditional way that people would lock a mirror with sigils and cleaning and stuff. But I would lay there for about 10 to 15 minutes every night before I'd go to bed, and I would picture the mirror, or I would stare at it underneath its cover, and I would picture white smoke or white tendrils wrapping it up. and I would think about closing it off, binding it. I'm binding it. I'm binding it. I'm binding it. I'm binding it. And then I would picture black binding it, binding it, binding it.
Is
binding
First
it,
still in the
binding
bathroom?
It, binding it.
No.
Do you see something moving there?
Yeah. I saw something scurry across the bottom. There's like a shadow.
I'll open it up and make sure.
Oh.
Watch
I need to shower.
Nope, no one's in here.
Anyway,
make sure
I would
you
picture
hold it
binding it,
open,
and after like a week
because
of doing that,
You can,
it was fine.
there's actually this
like I could
ghost
open it, I
that
could
was-
use it, I didn't feel a bad vibe off of it anymore.
I never went around that thing.
Just neither did
I didn't like it.
Because there's this ghost that would like sit outside the shower and watch you take a shower. That's weird.
Why would you say that to her before she gets into a shower?
He's like, yeah, be careful. I know you're already terrified because you just saw something, but like, there's a ghost in there that likes to watch you shower.
Are you talking about the one that watches me?
No, like there's this one ghost that would always watch me shower.
Is it tall, black shrouded,
Yeah,
covered in? That's not a ghost.
that is.
That's one of our guides. He just happens to like water. No, it's true. I had a reading done that told me all about it. That one of my guides is a tall, black shrouded figure, very dark, very scary, but not very dark and very scary as in it's bad. Just that it kind of makes you uncomfortable because of how it is visually. And it likes water, so chances are you're only going to see it when it's around water, when you're around water. So when I see it is when I'm washing dishes and I look into the faucet, like the reflection of the faucet, or when I'm in the shower and I look into the reflection of the knobs. The very first time I ever saw it was in the shower, and I was like, really?
This is why I just don't look at the reflection of the knobs.
I was like, really?
It's like a train wreck, though. You can't not look.
Yeah.
There's something that always compels you to look.
It
At
was
least
the
for
weirdest
me.
thing because it's this tall thing standing behind me in the shower, and I'm just like, is no place like private anymore, guys? Like I'm in the
That
shower.
moment when you're a mom and you're just like, the spirits can't even leave me alone in
Right?
the damn shower.
Like I wasn't even scared of it. I was just like, really, the shower?
Nice.
Gross.
Mom,
All right, we should wrap this
Yeah.
up. We're at 2.5
It
hours.
was like black.
I gotta get these yahoos to
had
bed
like-
anyway. It's
It
late.
was
Shower.
all
I'm showering with the door open.
This monster's face.
Monster's face.
Like a
No.
burn.
Monster's
Monster's
cock.
face.
Sorry.
It had like a burned face.
I gotta
All right,
go.
y'all, we're gonna wrap up.
My
We're
name
gonna
is
wrap up
Shoto
on this.
Todoroki. Not five Ds.
So with this being a subject of ghosts and paranormal and things like that, who of you out there have had an experience? Like, leave us a comment. Let's keep this discussion going. See, maybe we can get a part 2.
Oh yeah.
See if maybe we can try and go live some point with a part 2. I think that would be
And
a
we have
lot of fun. There's
so many
more.
stories.
So many more. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Awesome. Well, hey, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our stories and rambling and just hanging out.
It's
We
what
like
we
it.
do.
It's what we do. Like, it's funny because like if we didn't have a camera on, we would have had the same conversation.
Yeah.
So
We relive our favorite
this is
moments
just what we
over
do.
and over and over
This
again.
is what we do. But yeah, definitely make sure. I mean, this counts as a video upload, so if you're wanting to take advantage of our contest, our October drawing, just make sure you subscribe, share this video, let us know when you have, send us a comment, but like more importantly, comment your own experiences. I'm really curious to hear about it.
Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever had any encounters?
Are you skeptic?
skeptical?
Yeah, let us know, and then hopefully by the time we get to a part 2 we can do this beast live. So all right, y'all, we're gonna talk to you later.
Bye.